Welcome to the Milo Sweet Podcast, where you learn to achieve more with less by being resourceful. And watch me occasionally get off topic. Let's get into the show. Hello. Hey. Guess who's back? I'm back. It's been a minute. Thank you so much for still listening. While I didn't create anything new, I really appreciate that. Okay, so I had my fourth kid, and for all those that didn't know, I was pregnant. Now you know. Yay. That's some kind of rodeo. I think I should get an award for kids. I'll just tell you this. I've learned a lot. Like some lessons I've already known. I've known for a long time, but when you go to a new level, you learn them in a different way. Then there's some things that I learned again, but so it's kind of different. So I'll tell you this. So you can have a view from higher up. Like let's say you're going to another level in a building. So as you get higher, things look different. But then you can stay on one floor and you can walk around that floor. And so you're going to see a different angle of it. So I would say those two things vary or are different for me. So I've learned some principles, but I've seen them at different levels and angles. And then I would say that there are some things that I learned new. I'll get more into it as the years unfolds, but I would say I'm glad to be back. Absolutely. I hope this year has been treating you guys well. Okay, so what do I want to share from the journey? First off, I think all these things could help you at any stage of your life, right? Like you can be in transition in friendship or relationships. You could be a new parent of one. You can be, recovering from losing your job, or maybe you have had a struggle with addiction. I just really think that this could help you in any stage. And so, the fourth kid, first off, I'm this is coming from someone who's very, 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 very excited to have my fourth, dream come true over here. Super, super, super excited. I know some of you guys are cringing, oh my gosh, 4, that's crazy. Literally the whole time I'm pregnant, people are like, seriously, you made a Rona baby. I was going to call it a Corona baby, but, it's are you done yet? Really? So I got very little whoa, that's awesome. Congrats. It was more seriously, why are you still having babies? You already have 3. Okay. So the first thing I learned was get punched in the gut. Just get the punch over with, and you can respond like an MMA, UFC type of fighter, or you can respond on the ground, crying like a baby. If you know the punch is coming, start preparing, right? Sometimes we want life to just be all good all the time, and it's just not like that. And the moment you just decide that all you're seeking is pleasure, I think you set yourself up for failure. I do. And if you seek only pain, you set yourself up for failure. I do think that there's a beautiful balance, but you're not going to appreciate the pleasure in life unless you're able to appreciate the pain. So just get punched. And if you respond the first time like a little wuss, that's fine. Get up, learn how to fight, learn how to counterpunch, learn how to, get back out there. So I think that's kind of something that, I'm not going to go into detail. I know I always say that. I'm not going to go into detail. I think sometimes going into detail is dangerous because in our culture, we like to mimic people and do exactly the way they do. And I think the concept and the art of critical thinking has just left us. So sometimes details matter and sometimes they actually don't. If you learn how to just watch a UFC fight, if you've seen them in a couple, I guess even in the couple last years, you actually learn a lot just how to handle the fight of life, how to handle different pressures, how they strategize, the stuff that they talk ahead of time. They have to hype themselves up to go through stuff. That to me is important. Okay, so let's see. Pain or pleasure, get to know who you are. So we have to not be afraid of understanding who we are. Sometimes that's a scary, closet in the back of a house. It's no one goes in there. Uncle Ray Ray live in there sometimes and we just throw him his food. It's get to know who you are, or it's like the drawer that you never clean. You just stuff stuff in there and you never do anything with it. That's a dangerous thing. Dangerous. It's scary to know who you are, but don't be afraid of that. Whether it's going through pain or pleasure, understand who you are. Don't use that as an excuse either. Sometimes we are who we are, and then other times we're using that as a cop-out and excuse. And in knowing who you are, seeing the patterns of how you process information, how you do things, you'll kind of start to segment where you have an issue with truth and accountability and where you actually where you don't, where you're like, no, I'm pretty good at that. I'm really consistent. I'm loyal. I have integrity. I have this. And the other thing is change is good, but it's painful. Lean into it. A lot of times, a lot of this is pain oriented. This is what the last 4 months have been, how to really deal with pain. So I said, hold on. I actually took notes this time. That's how foggy my brain is. Okay. Which I don't know if that's good or bad, but I rarely have notes for a podcast. So change is good, but it's painful. Lean into it. So change is good. I think change is a good thing. Someone said we don't change until, I don't know who said this. I've heard this like a lot. We don't change until the pain of our situation is more than the pain of change. Change is painful. And if we don't understand that, then we'll find ourselves staying the same, and not in a good way. There's some things that should be the same, like, being on time or being honest. And we all have journeys with this, consistently, building integrity or, a good reputation. But there's sometimes we just avoid the hard work. And I think it's, again, a dangerous place to be, right? Change is painful. If we want the benefits of change, we have to be willing to change. So going from 3 kids to 4 kids, I'm like, I thought it was going to be a piece of cake. No, I don't understand. I'll tell you that. I don't understand. My life, I feel like I'm in a revolving door and it just keeps going and I'm not even sure when I can get out. I know it won't always feel like that, but it's very challenging, right? Not in a bad way, just a good change. This is a change I wanted. I'm very grateful for this change. So, I have to lean into it instead of saying, well, I'm a terrible mom. Like, what was I thinking? And it's no shade if that's your journey. I'm just speaking for myself, right? So that's something I don't like in today's culture. It's like everyone has to correct exactly what you say. It's like, no, I said what I said. I meant what I said. It's just my experience. I understand it's not the totality or it's not the end of that thing. So, give me some wiggle room to live. And maybe if you're just maybe I'll have your perspective, or maybe you're just wrong, or maybe it's just an opinion, but I digress. Okay. So, I would say lean into it. Don't be afraid. I just leaned into it. I'm like, okay, this is chaotic. This is crazy. And I kind of found my 20% produce 80%, 20% of your efforts produce 80% of your results. And if you want to get really technical, 4% of your efforts produce 64%. So I really focus on the 4%. I'm like, okay, we need to eat, we need to keep some kind of routine. And I focused on what was just going to keep us to the next day. And then every time I added on to that, and to be honest, I'm not really sure I was kind to myself. I'm going to be real here. I was just very methodical. Like I made it more like it's a logical thing. I had emotions and I just thought, okay, no, you need to get up by this time. You need to do this by that time. You need to accomplish this by the end of the day. If you have one thing to do, you have to do this. And I really think for me, this is my nature, my personality. If I didn't lean into it that way, I think it would have been like a year before I could podcast, like seriously. And everyone's different. Like I see stories where people are like, I had my 4th kid, woohoo. It was like going to Vegas. And it's like, no, totally not. I guess I know it depends on how you do Vegas, like, I don't know. Okay, so the next thing is don't be afraid to find out who you are. And I said that again because I know you're still probably afraid to find out who you are. It's like a lot of times, okay, so I don't know how you grew up, but I grew up where you talk about the standard, but you don't actually talk about like how to meet that standard, the thoughts you're struggling with to even try to meet that standard, the expectation. And so that kind of just got trapped inside for a very long time. And so a lot of times we will fake like we're we live in a culture that actually caters to that, where we could be whoever we want online and you're not actually that person. Like, what if you woke up and you're in sync with who you really are? You do what you really need to do. And you hold yourself accountable when you don't feel like it, but you're actually aware of the everyday battle and struggle of who you really are, who you are, how you're designed, how you're created to be, but then also like what your true flaws are. Like, I don't think, I know that we like love a flawless makeup video, or when they're like, oh, shred. It's like sometimes it's just, I don't know. I like when there's, when I can see your imperfections under your makeup. I personally like that. I like when people don't wear makeup at all. I think it's nice to see that, oh, wow, you could be flawless, but I think on a daily life living like that, I just think that's dangerous. It makes it really hard. It's like when Khloe Kardashian, the real pictures came out of her. It's like, dude, oh, you do have cellulite. I would prefer more pictures like that personally. Or with your, I don't want to call it a pig nose, but with the pig nose, it's nothing wrong with it. It's fine to me. I think that's just how you really are. Like, maybe just be that person. And the more you're that person, you actually will like being that person and waking up that person. It's that you're selling me something that's incongruent, and we all do it. So granted, I don't get paid for doing it. Usually someone calls me out in my real life, but we all do it. Okay. So give yourself grace, but not an excuse. And I told you that I'm not sure I was super kind to myself, because I was more just like, here's the benchmark. I need to work towards this. I understood the reality that 4 beautiful souls are depending on me, and I want to do the best job that I possibly can. And so I would say for this, I would say, so I see people give themselves grace, and like really what I feel like that means is like, don't hold yourself accountable. Like, just don't even hold yourself accountable. Like, just don't even find out if you could even try to do it or not. And then if you do it, like, okay, no shade to Lizzo, but a little shade. Okay. She said that she's been working out for 5 years and she hasn't made a transformation, and not all transformations you can see. It's true. Okay, not all transformations you can see. Like, if someone stopped watching child porn and then all of a sudden, they used to watch it and then they went to jail for it and they come out. You don't know, let's say you don't know any of that. You just saw them the day before they go in, and then you see them when they're out. You actually might not see the child. You might not actually see the transformation from them having, this issue to coming out like, yeah, okay, I can't actually see that, right? But I do think working out is like something you should be able to see. Like, I see you working out. And then there should be some benefits to working out. There's some internally, like you feel good. Like, I feel like my brain works better. So I got a workout in today. I feel really, really good. And so my brain is like, oh yeah, you could podcast, do it, girl. Yeah, but I'm going to be honest. It's like saying, okay, well, I'm going to be devoted 5 years in my marriage and I'm going to see zero progress, like, or 10%. Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's really worth it. If 20% of the effort you put in gives 80% of your results, either it's the wrong 20 or exactly. This is not to shade her. It just seems like she just doesn't want to be accountable. That it's like, hey, you do want certain things that you're not saying you want. And now you're making everyone else feel bad if they want to work out. And in 5 years, I look better to myself, not to Lizzo. She don't have to look better to other people. It's for her. But there should be some physical. If it's a physical activity, I want a physical result. And if it happens to give me an internal one, that's great. But it's like, hey, not all money equals you like every time you give the transaction at the store, it's like, just because, let me get this right. I'm trying to figure out the scenario. Okay. Trying to make an analogy. Okay. So you have a paycheck. Oh, I got it. I figured it out. You come home. You've been going to work. You're married. Let's just set this up. You're married or you're in a relationship. It's your turn to pay the rent. And you say, not all paychecks equal money. Like, what? Like, so you're saying the transformation of going to work every day shouldn't equal a paycheck? Like, at some point in 5 years, you're going to need to get paid. Look, if you come to 10 cents, $1, it's okay. It's not to make you feel bad that you have to be like someone else, but it's just, to me, a lack of accountability. It's like, that's a wrong message. That's just a wrong message to me. So I would say for me, I want to see those results. So give yourself grace. Like if you're working, let's say she's working out, give yourself some grace, right? But don't give yourself an excuse to not be held accountable and for your own self. Because here's the thing, when you lie to your self will call you out at night. When you're trying to sleep at night, you won't get that peace of mind. There's days where I'm like, I'm going to do this and I don't do it. Or I kept thinking podcast. And it's still on my plate. It's something that I want to be committed to, and I just wasn't able to, right? I had other things I needed to do, and I did have podcasts recorded. I dropped the ball. I still need to be accountable for that. Like, what? I can't say, not all recordings equal. Okay, I'm done. I'm just done. All right. So do enjoy wherever you are. Like I am definitely not anywhere near pre-pregnancy anything. And I'm just chilling. I'm working out. I'm enjoying my life. But, I have a little bit more cushion for the pushing. And that's cool. I think that's just where I'm at. That's not where I want to stay, but that's where I'm at. And I think that's okay to enjoy that. Or it's more chaotic. It's not going to always be this way. But if it is it worth it? Yes. And so just enjoy these moments. We have all these standards that, especially first we have our own standards, then we use other people's standards to justify standards. It's like, that gets really crazy, confusing. And then we compare ourselves to ourselves, that lie to ourselves. It's just like, just keep it simple. Like, I didn't show up today. I didn't do what I needed to do. But can I enjoy this moment now? Yeah. However, sometimes your own self won't let you enjoy it because it's holding you accountable. It is. And we want to make everything feel good, and everything isn't supposed to. All right. The last thing I want to do is say, stand on a rock, ask for help. So for me, that's my faith. I'm a Christian. Standing on, the Bible, and God has really helped me in this transition, and asking for help when I needed help, asking friends or my kids or my husband or whatever, asking for help. I think a lot of times when we're in a scenario, some of y'all ask for too much help. I just want y'all to know that's not what I'm talking about. Sometimes you need to be able to do something yourself and be alone and have solitude and get your stuff done. Okay. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you know that you really need help. Ask. Even if people can't give it to you at that moment, you'll start to see who really care about you, who really want to encourage you. And then they'll make it a priority when they can. And I think that that's so important. Is a lot of times we just suffer alone. We just go through things alone. And so asking for help. All right. That is all. I would love to hear your favorite one. And if you're happy that I'm back, send me a voice message. Let me know. You can go to anchor.fm/TheMilaSweet and send me a voice message. You can also email me, Mila@milasweet.com, with some feedback. All right, that is all. Did you know that you could impact my podcast by liking, subscribe, reviewing, and sharing? And also donating? You would totally make my day. Come on, make my dreams come true. All right, that's another episode in the books. Hello? I said it's over. Why are you still listening? Seriously. The episode is over. If you're still listening right now, you know what? You're probably a chronic procrastinator. Guess what? I'm still listening to you. Come on, for real, seriously. We gotta go do something productive. No, for real. No, for real. Okay, you can keep listening.